first thing she asked me when I got out of the bathroom was, "What was that hanging off of your butt?"
Welcome to Behind the Sins, presented by CinemaSins.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, a weekly look at everything going on inside the world of CinemaSins. I'm Aaron Dicer, and I'm joined as always by Jonathan Watkins.
Hello, hello.
And Danae Hughes.
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year.
Oh, yeah, this is going to be our Christmas episode.
We write for CinemaSins and TV Sins and do various other things inside the CinemaSins universe as well. Yeah, you're likely hearing this on Christmas or the day after Christmas, so Merry Christmas. And a Happy New Year. And Happy Holidays.
Our gift to you is an
Or
awkward
Happy
show.
Wednesday.
Why is it going to be an awkward show, Danae?
Because now I'm thinking about how everything has to be so fun and so present.
Okay, now when you say present, you mean present under the tree, or
Yes.
you mean like being here in the moment?
Both.
Because
I struggle with both.
I was going to say,
Pressure is on.
shut down your Discord if you want to have a present episode.
You know what? I haven't been on Discord the past 2 episodes.
Oh, I'm sad I brought it up. I reminded you it was there.
Well, I kind of I want to go, but then I realized that I was genuinely engaged in conversation. I might be changing as a person.
Oh.
Sorry to disappoint you, Discord.
That's very nice.
But, there's always this episode. We can see. I'll open it up on my phone here in a little bit.
Everybody excited for Christmas week? Christmas is yet, we are living in the ghost of Christmas past. You are living in the ghost of Christmas future. So ours is still to come. You guys excited for it?
Wait.
This has been a pretty relaxed holiday season for me so far, so I'm hoping it stays that way.
But why am I a ghost of Christmas past?
Because Christmas hasn't happened yet.
But wouldn't that be a ghost of Christmas future?
No, the ghost of Christmas past is about Christmases before. And so the ghost of Christmas future is about stuff that hasn't happened yet.
Which Christmas hasn't happened yet for us. So wouldn't it be Christmas future?
No, but but we are, okay, if you're talking about the story, right? The Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
The ghost of Christmas past was now back. That's where we are right now. If we're visiting you as a ghost, we are the ghost of Christmas past.
I was thinking like, I got it now.
Okay.
I see where you're coming from.
Very important that we cleared that up.
Glad. I need chains so I can rattle them.
Yes.
I don't have any chains.
What were you saying, Jonathan, about your Christmas?
No, I was just saying it's been this has been a very relaxed holiday season. I mean, we've been working a lot, obviously, on our channels and whatnot. But as far as getting prepared for Christmas and the families and all that stuff, it's been very nice.
Yeah. It does. Middle of the week Christmas is interesting to me. It just kind of takes both weekends out of the picture, and so it makes it kind of its own little thing, which I think I kind of like. So I like Wednesday Christmas. That's kind of nice.
Now, I did go grocery shopping yesterday. I decided to be the one that did the weekly grocery shopping, and I regretted that immediately.
Yes, stay out of the
And
stores.
found out that it was the busiest day of the year for the grocery store. It's Kroger. I mean, I'm sure plenty of people that listen have Krogers. But yeah.
I'm not looking forward to we have to grocery shop today for the holidays. It's dumb.
Yeah.
It's real dumb.
You should have just bought all your groceries for the whole month.
Well, I wanted to, but Justin was like, no, we'll just do it. But when we were out of town, and so now we're coming back into town, the craziness of getting acclimated back into the house and then having to shift immediately into cooking, baking mode. And I don't know, I'm already stressed. I'm not even in the kitchen. That's not a good sign.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, whatever the case, we hope your holidays are amazing. And we hope that this podcast can be a nice way to escape from the family trauma that sometimes happens during the holidays.
That's right.
And just listen to us for a few hours.
That's right.
Just pretend you're listening to something educational.
Yeah, nod your head and smile.
Yeah, exactly.
Or grab a piece of paper and a pen and write something down. Look very
look very stern and serious. And I'm doing some work here.
Yeah.
This is important.
Very intelligent.
Nice.
Oh, that's a good point. The word inguinal. Yes.
You guys ready to get into it?
Let's do it.
All right, let's hit the SinSide Scoop.
What's he building in there?
I've got a secret.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
This is a true story.
We're going to take a look at the videos from the CinemaSins week on all 3 channels. We'll start off with TV Sins. Steven Universe. I did not write on this. This was a Hughes Watkins script. Jonathan and Danae wrote on this, and I have no clue what's going on in this show. I need
We don't either.
help. Because this is a very popular show. I've never watched it. I'm assuming by that statement, Jonathan, you guys never watched it until going through this.
No, I'd heard a lot about it, but no, I've I don't think I've ever smoked enough pot to enjoy this show fully.
Is that what it is? Is it?
No,
is it
I
kind
have
of
no
like
idea. I'm just kidding.
No. I'm not even kidding. I'm saying sometimes there are shows that appeal to kind of that mindset, that altered mindset. It definitely feels like kind of that show.
I mean, I've definitely talked to people that really like it that I do not believe partake in and stuff like that. It's really funny with Cats out this week. I read a lot of people talking about. Well, even your wife made that great joke.
Yeah.
About we don't do enough drugs, but I saw a lot of people specifically referring to like acid and hallucinogenics, and I have not seen Cats, but I find that when most people bring that up, those are people that have never done hallucinogenics because it usually doesn't correlate at all. But you never know. But I'm sure there are plenty of people that partake in various substances and enjoy the hell out of this show. We even make the joke about stoners watching at 420. So
Cookie Cat. He's a pet for your tummy.
Oh, can I tell you right now, I don't ever want to eat an ice cream sandwich again after watching this.
He's super yummy dummy. Wait, nope. He's super duper yummy. That's
whatever. I was completely lost.
Cat, he left his family behind.
I had a lot of people tell me if you keep watching, I guess you kind of get into the feel of the show or whatever. It starts working a little better.
Hey, listen, I loved it.
But
I super loved it.
Well, why don't you talk about it first?
Great.
Then? Like tell me what you loved about it and what's interesting to you and what you picked up from it. Because I am genuinely telling you, I have very little to say because I am lost. I am so lost.
Okay. Well, first of all, there was like they drop you right into the middle of a story. Like there's no here's who Steven is or here's who these gems are, or there's no explanation as to like where the gems come from or why they have them. All we know by watching the pilot, which looks very different from the next episode. We did both of them, obviously.
We should say we put two episodes together.
Yeah, two episodes together. Because the first, technically, like the first pilot maybe would have had some substance that would have lent itself to having a better understanding of what like the now is considered the first episode is. Yeah. But no, it's the same feel. Both of them are the same feel. There's a battle and they're using their gems, and Steven doesn't know how to use his gem, and he likes treats. That's legit all we have to go off of. We don't know.
And he lives like in a tree house next door to a donut shop.
Yeah, that's it.
That's kind of what it looks like.
So this to me is clearly one of those kinds of cartoons or shows that just like reveals things as the show goes on rather than giving you like an introduction episode, and I actually really appreciate that.
No, that's fine. That's cool. It just makes it difficult to find your footing, especially at the start.
But especially if you're watching just the Sins video and you're clipping through it so fast. Now, they were really short episodes, and so if there's anything about like the vibe of it, which is just like the super lighthearted silliness, if that's something that you vibe with, definitely recommend watching it because there was some fun stuff in there, at least for me. Yeah, there was some fun stuff happening. So,
and I mean, I'm not opposed to watching any more of it. I could totally see this being something that kind of finds its groove.
Yeah.
I just don't know that I'm gonna put it ahead of my already way too long list of shows I need to watch.
No, this is definitely one that's like maybe does have that quintessential stoner show feel to it or something. Because like for me, I would watch She-Ra on Netflix before I'd watch Steven Universe. But I remember, I think it was a couple years ago, I was seeing some articles about a really interesting storyline arc that had happened with Steven Universe. And I must say, after reading the comment section and the Steven Universe fans coming to the comments, they were so incredibly sweet.
Like, nice. Good.
I agree.
It was a really refreshing like experience as somebody to like, in fact, several of the comments were, CinemaSins fans, ready to hear like the Steven Universe fans are coming for him, and then the Steven Universe fans are coming like, cool, glad you like it. They're just really like it was a super kind thing.
Which is pretty accurate for most of our videos, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, by far the main thing I saw in the comments was the audacity of the "Who's Joe" comment.
Oh my God, I want to know who Joe is, and I cannot. I did research after this.
I do too.
So we still don't know.
No.
Well,
because
the only thing
the
I
comments
could find
are like
is that
the comments are
Joe
like
Johnston is a writer director for the show, but I don't think that's who they're referring to. But I don't know.
Well,
I wish somebody would tell me.
But I saw the whole "Who's Joe" thing happen in another video, I think from this week, where we mentioned someone named Joe, and I thought it was a recurring CinemaSins joke.
Or it's a meme of some sort that we're not aware of.
I don't know. We're old.
Help us
so-
old people out. Seriously, somebody let us in on the Who's Joe thing. You're right. Maybe it is beyond Steven Universe. Maybe it's just because like the comments are like, who is Joe? And then they'll say like, so you have chosen death. You know, it's like one of those things where it's like, oh, you're asking for it by asking who is Joe. So,
right. Yeah.
So we are missing something. We admit it. There's something missing from all three of our brains here. So if somebody can help us out.
Urban Dictionary.
Okay.
Here's, you know how like it'll give you one line?
Yeah.
So who's Joe? Urban Dictionary. In all caps, never ask this question. Anyone who asks the question will die after Obama comes to their house and burns it down with fire.
What? Okay, so it's a meme. It's some sort
Joe?
of meme.
Urban Dictionary. When someone says who's Joe, you have to respond Joe Mama. The phrase in Joe Mama acts as the words to this, blah, blah, blah. So there's
okay.
clearly
It's a
we
meme,
stumbled
So it had
into a
nothing to
meme.
do. There's no Joe on the show. Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Well, then I'm an
who's
idiot.
Joe? Gamers rise up on Reddit. So yeah, we stumbled into something here.
Yeah, we stumbled into a meme.
Oops.
That's all it was.
We're accidentally relevant.
No, wait, hold on. Rewind. It was all purposeful.
I knew that all along.
That's
So,
right.
I guess just super quick to recap what's going on in this episode. These are all some kind of a superhero. The three women know how to access their gems and access some kind of a weapon that they use that they can summon, but Steven does not yet know how to do that. That's the basis of it. And there's something to do with, monsters that they're fighting.
So there is an appeal to almost the metaphor of growing up and adolescence and feeling like you don't fit in and you don't understand, what the world around you is, and everybody else seems to have it together, but you can't, like that. So I can see how that, that's appealing.
I also thought it was cool. And I don't know a lot about, I don't watch a lot of animated shows in general, but at least not more adult oriented ones. But Rebecca Sugar is the creator of this. And I don't feel like I've come across a lot of animated series created by women. And this one felt like it definitely had more of like a female slant to it, which was kind of cool.
Yeah. I think I agree with that completely. It was really refreshing and kind of fun and definitely lighthearted and silly. And also really fun to sin too. So
yeah, talk a little bit about that. Go into kind of the sinning in the video itself, and kind of what were some of those fun moments for you guys to take a look at.
I learned that fanny packs are called belly bags thanks to Danae.
Yeah,
they're back.
So that was good,
especially across the pond, especially in England.
Yeah,
because fanny means something else over there.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
Something very dirty.
Yeah, it means bird bath. I had a really good time with the cupcakes on this one. I got kind of obsessed with everything in that donut store.
Yeah,
we had a lot of sins written in that donut shop.
There was so much going on, and there's so many that I cut from my own script because I couldn't figure out how to make it work. Just angles that were weird, just in animation and stuff like that. It's hard to sin the animation switch because it's obvious that maybe the first one was drawn as like a hey, someone take this. This is a pitch. So we only did I think we only did a couple of references to, oh yeah, I can see the difference between the two, or oh yeah, sure, you are who you say you are.
There's quite a difference though.
It was very different. And then the gauntlets from one of the characters when she summoned her weapon, it looked really, really cool in the first part, and then it was super oversimplified in the second. So that was really interesting to sin also.
Yeah.
The storyline was very weird. So in the first one, there's this time device. And then the second one, there's a centipede attack. And the timeline device, it was very strange because the whole thing hinged on him being able to have comebacks, as a kid, having a snarky comeback. So what are you laughing about, Jonathan?
No, I was just saying when you said the comeback, the story, just you explaining the storylines was funny. And the comeback thing was great because we actually played with that in the outtakes.
Yes.
Where we used the Seinfeld reference. And then we actually used Steven saying, oh, that would have been a good thing to say. Yeah,
that was so good. Yeah, the outtakes were really fun.
Once again, outtakes for animated shows are the most fun.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's amazing
100%.
how it's so easy to make the lips line up with what they're saying. Oh, it's great.
I got a chance to throw in the soda versus pop versus Coke versus water.
Yeah, anytime.
I appreciated that.
Based on many, many, many arguments with Aaron about that. I threw one in to be considered, but it actually made it in, and I was really excited.
That's a fun feeling where it's I'm not sure this is going to sneak through.
So as the second episode begins and they're singing their very sugary, like, we are the da-da gems or whatever, I wrote one that was kind of snarky. It said, oh God, this is so sugary sounding, my teeth hurt and my soul is trying to rip free from my body and hide in the dark shadows of my YouTube awards.
That was so
And
good.
That was great.
Because it's kind of like the narrator bragging about his YouTube award, but then it's like a snarky way of saying I have these awards. And
But it's exactly something the narrator would say.
I guess so,
Exactly.
because it's there.
Yeah. Nicely done.
I enjoyed that one a lot.
Jonathan, did you have anything else?
Danae touched on a lot of it, and I already did. But the things said during childbirth and threesomes, that was a pretty popular one, and as it should be. And yeah, Danae's sex life must be interesting. Sorry, you can nix that. If you want to.
No, I have experience with one of those things. I guess I can say that. I know for sure that happens in one of those things.
That's right.
And that was a sin that got. I'm trying to think of a better word than this, but I can't. Like, got massaged.
Massage, also something commonly in
There you go.
childbirth and threesomes.
Please
so
don't.
there you
Please
go.
don't take a crap.
Yeah, I think it had. There was more to it, and we eliminated the.
Yeah, it was something.
We
I don't
simplified
remember,
it just to
but,
be the punchline. Yeah.
It is perfect.
Yeah,
Very nice.
that was a lot of fun. We did a lot. It was fun working on this.
Yeah, this is a fun
this
script. Yeah, this is a
Well,
fun
this
one.
was a
Great
really
job.
cool one. I almost kind of liked that we didn't know a whole lot. I think that actually helped us in this one.
Yeah. Well, good job. Excellent work.
Cool.
Let's move on to the Rick and Morty for the week. It was Pickle Rick. This is one of the most notorious Rick and Morty episodes, both because it was, I think, marketed long before it aired. And so people were already like Pickle Rick fans before the episode had even started. And so that kind of made it an interesting thing. But this was Chris and I, it's an Atkinson Dicer script. And man, I really think this episode is the prime example of both how intelligent Rick and Morty can be and also how over the top and ridiculous it can be. And I think how you feel about that second thing can determine how you come away from an episode like this. So it really is that whole balance of, are they geniuses or are they just goofing around?
People ask the same about us, you know? We totally get it.
That's right. That's right.
I was really excited to watch this one, though, because when we first started talking about doing Rick and Morty, those of you that watched the show, like you and Chris, and I guess even Barrett, mentioned that you guys kept bringing this one up.
Yes. Yeah.
And I guess, you know, it was kind of that Forrest Gump thing or whatever, where you hear about it, or just pick any big movie where if you don't watch it till like months later, it's not a letdown. I mean, it was very funny, but I definitely was somewhat surprised this was that big of a fan favorite, but you never know.
Yeah. Danae, do you remember watching this episode in particularly?
Yes, but it was confusing to me because I remember the hype and I remember the excitement. I remember already talking about. I think there was even swag. There was Pickle Rick swag, and nobody had even seen it.
No, the episode hadn't been out
funny.
yet.
So I do remember that all that happening, and then of course watching it, you know, going, oh, now I get it. But I thought that I missed it, but apparently I didn't. It was like a promotional kind of thing.
Yeah, it was really strange.
So yeah.
And it is really funny, but I do love that in the video you guys bring up that the idea that he would do this as opposed to just faking an illness is insanity. So the inciting incident that gets this going is kind of ludicrous.
Like, don't you want to be at that table? Okay, so he's gonna want to avoid going to go to the counselor or the psychologist's office. So what's Rick gonna do? Let's see. He could fake being sick. Okay, that's a good idea. What if he was a pickle? I like what you're thinking. Tell me more.
Yeah, it's like the Key and Peele Gremlins 2 table read or whatever, or the writer's room.
Yeah. I like shows that are crazy and just press stuff because it makes you, I don't know, I think it kind of encourages me as an artistic person and as a creative person to go a little bit further.
Yeah.
So I think this show is fascinating to me.
It really is.
And this is one of those
that
episodes.
That is a good way to put it.
that really kind of just puts it home for you. And also, I think I'm right in this. This one finally shows that, you know, in the intros, it showed Rick and Morty like on that big grand key thing and everyone's getting smashed.
Yeah.
And then it finally kind of shows more of that particular part.
Right. Yeah.
So there was like a reveal in this one as well.
Well, they've done that with in previous episodes and previous seasons as well,
Right.
and they've always said they try to work in those intro things into actual episodes, but like this one, they are often just little one-off.
Yeah, it was like a little
kind
kind
of
of clip.
Yeah.
Sort of a feel.
Yeah.
I did ask Chris his thoughts on this too, so I'm excited to read his thoughts.
Yeah, go for
it. He said Pickle Rick is the most insane Rick and Morty when you first watch it. There's a giddiness to it that's infectious, especially at the beginning when Rick is trying to find a way to move, all the way to attaching rat legs to his body to get around. On multiple viewings, the point where Rick finds himself taking down a Russian consulate is not nearly as fun. Add to that the pointless B story with mom and the kids going to a psychologist that also specializes in people who eat poop. This episode's highs even out with some pretty low lows.
Yeah.
Which I thought was, of course.
I think that's what I had watching it for the first time was I enjoyed most of the Pickle stuff, but anything outside of that I wasn't really that into. I think I enjoyed the Russian consulate thing a little more than he did, but
I think the best moment of the episode might be the counselor speech at the end. I think that speech that she gives him that almost kind of puts Rick in his place a little bit. Like she has this speech that
Pickle Rick.
Yes. I'm sorry, Rickle. In his place. It's one of those things where she is showing that on an intellectual level, there are different kinds of intellect. There are different kinds of smarts. And she's kind of saying, I have a different intellect that is bigger than yours, but it's in a different area in some ways. And he kind of acquiesces, which is something you never see Rick do. I don't know. It was that therapy, the end of that therapy session, I found to be interesting and worthwhile. But
cool.
But I get it.
Chris also said, at first glance, it's hard to come up with sins for this episode. He said he thinks that it ended up being a decently high sin count for the Rick and Morty episodes, but he had to watch it 4 times.
Me too.
Trying to watch enough to generate enough material. So what's amazing is as little as I like that Russian consulate part, there are only a few things that are sinful about it.
Yeah.
Most of what I wrote took on some of the logistics of Pickle Rick's sewer adventure and the lowly poop eating jokes sprinkled throughout.
Right.
So he had, I guess, a similar experience to you where it's just one of those episodes that you have to watch. And this happens sometimes. Sometimes you'll watch one and it's just like, man, I've got so much material. I've got 90 sins. And it's crazy. And then you've got one, you're like, I have 14.
And by the way, that's not always the material. Sometimes it's just the space we're in, the mental space we're in as a writer. Writer's block is real, and it's true for almost any type of writing you do. And sometimes it just takes a while to get moving.
Yeah, and maybe
especially if you're writing weekly content.
Yes,
right.
That is something too. That's just I guess, as a more behind the sins of behind it. As a person,
that's like 16 walls.
I know, we're just getting all crazy.
Danae broke the 16th wall.
You're welcome. I am learning that sometimes I have to block off 4 days for a TV script or a movie script, and then 2.5 or 3 days for a TV script. And sometimes I surprise myself and I get it done. And I've got huge deadlines. Like I've got 4 scripts coming up in like the next 8 days. And I'm like, oh no.
Right.
If they're not the ones that go well, I'm going to be late on everything. And let me tell you, that's just not impressive.
That's right.
Not impressive to have to message your boss. I'm sorry, I can't think of anything. I hope you like this poop joke.
Well, what'd you guys think of the script? What'd you think of the finished product, the video itself?
It was very, very funny. It was actually probably one of my favorites of the Rick and Morty videos so far.
Yeah.
I thought it clipped really well. The pace was so fun on this one. I also like to stop digging for hidden layers and be impressed, which was Rick and Morty fans in our comment section.
Yeah, I had that written down. That's a good one.
That was a good one.
It's so true.
It was like the Trump one. I'm like, oh well, that one takes the cake.
Yeah, yeah.
I liked John Rick Chapter 3 Picklebellum.
Yes.
Yeah. I liked how we got to refer to the what is this? Some kind of Suicide Squad.
Oh, I didn't write it down. I thought I did. What was the one? What was the word that was invented for the rat licking? Lingus.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember.
Oh,
but
dang it! I cannot remember what it was.
It was cerebalingus because it was brain licking. Yeah.
Yes. There were several comments of people being like, I love this word and I'm going to be using it.
What? You're going to be using a word that means brain licking?
Yes.
In your day-to-day life?
Yes.
Well, I want to hang out with you for a little bit.
Cerebellingus.
You know, I guess you could use it metaphorically when somebody like tickles your brain with the way they use their words or something, or the way they, the way they think. So, like a brain teaser is kind of cerebellingus.
Yeah.
So just a little more pleasure to it when you
Right.
kind
Oh
of
my
put it in
god,
that.
that does not sound right though.
This is so funny.
I gotta admit, I kind of patted myself on the back when I came up with that one. So
I forgot to mention the inguinal area when we were talking about Steven Universe.
Yeah.
That was another
Yeah.
one of those words that popped up in the comments, like thanks for making me look this up, kind of a thing. I know that from massage therapy school. So and when I was trying to find the script in our archive, I just searched for the word inguinal. It's the only time it's been used since I've started working. So I've easily found the script. So now I know I can do cerebellingus, and I'll easily find the Pickle Rick script anytime I want to.
That's right.
That's a word
Nice.
we'll not use again, or maybe we will. Who knows?
Who knows? I did do some research on distributed intelligence, which I thought was fascinating. In the comments, somebody disagreed with that research a little bit, and I think what I would say to that is scientists don't know for sure how roaches' intelligence works. So I think what I said in the sin was that scientists believe that they may have distributed intelligence,
Crazy.
something like that. But can you imagine like where you have almost different brain centers across your body that
I just got
control
chills.
different parts? So
Well, we kind of do in a weird way. Like,
no, we don't at all. Our brain is in our head. That's
our
where it
nervous
is.
system, though, is.
But that's what transmits what the brain is doing to the different parts of the body.
But then that part of the body talks back to the brain.
Does it?
Uh-huh.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, like little.
Anything else on the Pickle Rick script?
No,
Not
I
for
just
me.
had such a good time on it.
Good. My one thing I will mention is I think I did my favorite outtake of all time for this script, and it actually was used for the next previously on. So you're just now seeing it this week, attached to one of the videos. But it's the one where Rick says, "Turn me over, Morty. I have something to say," and he turns over Pickle Rick, and then we dubbed over "God made you special, and he loves you very much" from VeggieTales, and that just makes my day so much because he's a pickle and
know
Larry's
you
a
did
cucumber.
that.
Well,
It's the
and
best.
our patrons already have that video.
That's right.
That's on, and that was I noticed that was one of the comments was that a VeggieTales reference?
Oh man, it's so perfect. It is the best outtake I've ever put together. So
Oh my god.
yeah, I love that one. All right, let's move on to music video sins for the week. Nicki Minaj, Super Bass. What do we think of Nicki Minaj and this song?
Skip.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same. What about you, Jonathan?
I don't know. I've never had much of an opinion on her either way. She has a few songs that are okay and are listenable, but she's definitely not, my go-to. This is probably one of her catchier songs, I would say.
Yeah. I get why this song is catchy in a lot of ways. If I'm being honest, in trying very desperately not to be judgmental, I just don't like Nicki Minaj's
Style.
I just don't like what she puts out. Like, I don't like what she communicates. It feels in many ways false to me. It doesn't feel authentic to me. It feels like there's button pushing for button pushing's sake. And this isn't just her. There's a lot of pop culture that is like this in general. But I'm not a fan. And I think that's the nicest
I was a
way to
Lil
say
Kim
it.
fan, like early on in Lil Kim's career, her first couple of albums, and she definitely did a lot of button pushing. But there seemed to be a little more behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's going to be a lot of people out there who think I'm an idiot when I say that, but like when Nicki Minaj first came on the scene, and I first remember her, she was like a guest rapper on a lot of songs.
Yeah.
Before she released her first album, and I liked her at first, and I thought, oh, this is going to be like, like the next like Lil Kim type of rapper, because Lil Kim at that point had kind of stopped doing stuff, and has recently come back, I guess. But and so I found it a little disappointing when she finally released an album, and it was more of this kind of stuff like you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I don't feel her music like I feel other artists. It's kind of one of those things where you're like, yeah, that person has talent. It's just not talent that I'm attracted to, like that I want to go get and invest my time in.
Right. Yeah.
What I had happened while I was watching this is I was like, oh yeah, this is the first time I remember seeing Sophia Grace on Ellen. There's this little girl, but it's just like 8 years ago, or more actually. I don't even. Let's just say it was 8 years ago. And she and her cousin. So her name is Sophia Grace, and she could rap really well as like this little kid, and she could sing really well. And then she has like this cousin who was like her hype girl, and they're both like these adorable little girls wearing pink dresses and tiaras, and they're just like and she's singing this nasty song by Nicki Minaj. And they became like the sensation. And Sophia Grace is now like, I don't know, 18 years old now and has her own career. And so they have their own like, social media following from all the exposure on Ellen. They came back on Ellen multiple times, and I was like, oh yeah, this is the boom, 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 boom. I saw that. I didn't see Nicki do it. I saw Sophia Grace, this little child, do it. So I kind of had this fun like remembrance of seeing something adorable on TV and then going and seeing Where Are They Today and being like, oh crap, girl, you grew up. It's weird. You grew. Like you went from a child to an adult, and I haven't aged at all. That's
right. That's so weird.
So weird.
Very strange.
I did like multiple of the sins in this one. I love the whole slow-mo, like someone just found their slow-mo mode.
Yeah.
Because it's such a weird time to do slow-mo. There's nothing really interesting happening on the screen there except for, I guess, boobs. And a half-naked man.
Boobs
I guess
are interesting.
Okay, I guess that's
half-naked men are interesting. Yeah. The body is interesting.
I also love. I guess for me, when it's slow mo and you're like watching a liquid be thrown, like you want to see something cool happen with the liquid. Nothing even cool was happening with the liquid. It's just slowed down bodies, and it was just a really poorly made. To me,
yeah,
I'm being picky. That's my job.
That's what we do.
I really love the whole reference to it being a pagan ritual and then the payoff of the feathers. I really enjoyed that. It's kind of fun when you can find these little storylines going on inside of things and then like, make them wilder.
One of my
and wilder.
favorite things is to find a fun callback joke that you can tweak.
Yeah.
The example I always go to with TV Sins is the Duffer Brothers names in the Stranger Things videos. Just something fun where somebody who's on the inside gets it every time you do it. And if not, it's just kind of a funny way to say it anyway. So yeah, I really dig that kind of stuff.
Yeah. When they're like, he's like, where'd all the guys go? Are they feathers now? It was a pagan ritual. I like that.
The joke that I think just made me giggle was Nicki resolved to never prominently feature her butt in any future work.
Yeah. That was one of my favorite, I think, ending notes.
Yeah, for sure. Did you have anything else you wanted to mention about the Nicki Minaj video, Jonathan? I
liked the narrator brought up the idea of eyeball pornography because there were so many close-ups on her eye.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So close you could see her contact lenses.
Yep. And then I also I love the simplicity of this one, but she says the line about, the polos, and then you see all the shirtless dudes, and then the narrator just simply says, not pictured polos.
Right. Very nice.
Sins like that tend to I don't know what you would call that, but I love sins like that.
Yeah, there's a simplicity to them that's really fun. All right, let's move on to CinemaSins for the week. We got around to sinning everything wrong with Spider-Man Far From Home. This has been all the Marvel stuff is very much requested, and we appreciate being able to do it as well. This was a Scott Watkins joint, right? This was Jeremy and Jonathan.
Yep. We did Homecoming together too, so this was
Oh, nice.
A Spider-Man reunion. We get into Spider-Verse together, too, I believe. I guess Jeremy and I just do the Spider-Man stuff.
It's your thing.
Yeah.
Aw, you didn't even know.
Well, it's your
I will
home.
say, I am, I don't know if I've talked about this on the show before or not, but I grew up on Spider-Man. And I guess if you did that whole thing where you have like pop cultural miles, like things that define, I guess your pop cultural build up, Spider-Man would be part of mine for sure.
Yeah. I think when assignments are handed out, I think those things are kind of kept in mind too, right? I feel like that's part of the reason I get a lot of animated
Chris
stuff,
is like, Jonathan has talked about Spider-Man to me for 30 years now, and I'm going to give him this.
So when you watched this movie, do you feel that nostalgia as Spider-Man has changed, the person who's playing Spider-Man or the franchise has changed? Do you still get emotional watching it because he's your fave?
Yeah, I mean, when the first Sam Raimi movie came out, and I guess that was 2000, at that point, I just assumed it was never going to happen because they've been trying to make a Spider-Man movie since the 80s. Like James Cameron was attached at one point and all kinds of stuff. Toby Hooper was supposed to direct it at one point. So that's probably the most, like, I guess, emotional I've ever been. Just the fact that it existed on screen. There's been so many since then. I mean, I guess I lose a little bit, but yeah, no, I'm always super stoked when I know that I'm going to see Spider-Man swinging on the big screen, I guess. Yeah. It's pretty silly, sure. But I guess it's like Aaron with Pixar and whatnot. I don't know. It's just, so even the ones I don't like that much, there's still I probably get more enjoyment out of them than I would like a movie without Spider-Man in it, I guess.
Yeah. So. Yeah, no, I totally understand it for sure. I like this movie quite a bit. I have a really good time with it. And it is one of those movies that I think, for me, I can have complete awareness of, where the faults may be or the plot holes or those kind of things. It just doesn't bother me at all. I just have a great time watching it. And I really, really enjoy these new Spider-Man movies. So I'm excited that Marvel's going to keep making them.
I didn't like this as much as Homecoming. I enjoyed it. I watched it. I saw it in the theater, and I actually talked about it on a Beyond the Sins whenever I saw it. And at that time, I think I said I thought it was fine. But I did like it better on the second viewing. I still don't like I'm never going to like the Iron Man stuff, I think. I mean, not that I like the stuff with him and Tony, like in the Avengers movies and stuff, but I don't know. I don't like that the villains, they keep retconning these villains to be like more Iron Man villains than Spider-Man villains. And I don't know, little things like that kind of bug me, but it's still a really fun movie, regardless of those little nitpicky things that, bother me.
Yeah. I haven't seen this movie.
Oh, so how was this experience for you?
I haven't seen any of the standalone Spidey movies in a long time.
They're fun. I think you'd like them.
I know I would. But now I have resigned that everything I watch is going to be sinned from here on out. It's just the way that life is now. And that's okay. So it was interesting for me because I had that same thing that I've had before where, I'm getting the short condensed version of this movie while also trying to listen to the narrator and make my own decisions about what I'm seeing, but also listen to the narrator. So it was a little distracting for me because I hadn't seen it before.
Right.
So, and then of course you're getting spoiled on it at the same time. So I don't have, I can choose not to watch it, which we've established here on Behind the Sins. If I don't want to watch it, I won't.
Right.
But I did. And I don't think I'll watch it now. I don't think I'll go back in and watch it. I think I probably would get, it might be like a fun one to just put in there, but I don't think it's one that would entertain me.
Now that you've seen this.
Now that I've seen it. Yeah.
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 I don't know. I may disagree with that.
But I'm also confused. So the handsome guy in the green suit was bad the whole time, and he used drones to project bad things, kind of like Scarecrow style.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But did he make the monster out of water too?
No, it was all drone. Well, there were physical effects that he used as well, but most of it was just hologram technology.
So the water attack was hologram technology
with some like missiles and those kind of things to create the actual physical damage.
Yeah, like the drones had weapons on them, and
so when the boat is pushed up onto the shore at the very beginning, that was done through missiles?
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Supposedly. It is one of the hugest flaws of this movie is that his tech could never do the things that it's shown to.
I asked Jeremy what he thought about sending this movie.
Yeah.
And he said something similar. He said he mostly hated that we are asked to accept that drones can do all sorts of visual magic and physical damage in real time based on one dude's whims.
Yeah.
The scene where he puts Peter in a dream sequence is a neat scene, but he makes Peter see himself in his original sweatpants spider suit. And how does a drone control another person's mind?
Right.
And then he talked a little bit more about some other thoughts. If you want me to...
No, yeah, go for it. What else did he say?
Yeah, he continued by saying, I was also disturbed by the scene where an adult female demands Peter disrobe in front of her, apparently to try on a new suit, but mostly to give the rival guy a reason to narc on Peter to MJ. I'm cranky about this movie even though I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, kind of the vibe that I felt too. Like it kind of made me cranky. And also when he said, that he was disturbed by a scene where an adult female demands that Peter disrobe. Like if you role reverse that, it would be completely unacceptable in a movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that kind of stuff bugs me.
As a female, you get to say that. For me, from my perspective, I try to remember the power dynamic.
I understand that.
You understand what I'm saying?
No, I understand that. But it's still like, I don't know. I think it's still something to talk about because
of course, there's a balance.
I will never deny that there is a power inequality. But when I watch anything, TV or movies, I always think about equality.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I do role reversals sometimes, and I flip the gender around or whatever's being represented, I'm like, that doesn't feel right. If this guy is still in high school, and we're saying they're still technically like children, no adult should be able to demand that someone
it's a perfectly
take off their clothing in front of people.
It's a perfectly valid sin, and the fact that the movie does it in a certain way,
which I didn't get to see the full moment because I didn't watch it, but
that would never be done.
Yeah.
If she really needed him to try on that suit, she would never just say, take off your clothes. She would say, here's what's going on. We've got a new suit for you.
And the other thing that kind of bugged me is it has that kind of like sexual vibe to it a bit. And I don't know if it's because I'm trained by media to like assume that a beautiful female talking to a handsome male, there has to be something sexual to it, because she was being kind of like aggressive or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, instantly I'm like, are they trying to be sexual with this? Like, what is that?
Well, they are only in the fact that I think they want us to question what's going on initially. And they also, again, want to set it up so that he gets caught, quote unquote.
And what makes me upset about that is that we shouldn't be forced to think about those kinds of things, like, I mean, I guess it's a good conversation to have. You can go home and you can be like, hey, do you remember this part of the movie whenever Peter Parker was asked to take his clothes? I'm just saying, maybe as we can have those conversations, because it seems like that. Exactly. Yeah. It's not their intent. That's what bothers me. We as the people watching it have to take a time to kind of go, oh, I don't want this to be absorbed wrong into the people that I'm influencing. Again, I'm thinking about this because I have a kid.
Yeah.
So.
No, totally. I think it's a very valid thing to talk
agree.
about.
Like, I remember I talked about this when Chris and I did the Jumanji, the Next Level mini pod, where in the first Jumanji movie, I took Mackenzie, or the second Jumanji movie, I guess technically, I took Mackenzie to see it. And there's a scene in there where Jack Black, who is a video game avatar that a woman is inside, or a teenage girl is inside, actually, has to go to the bathroom and is very excited to find out how that works for men. And there's like a whole, like, and it, in the movie itself, it's very just jokey. But then my daughter, who was, at the time was 6, was like, why is everybody laughing?
Right.
And then you have to choose whether or not to explain that situation to her.
Man, I remember the first time I learned about how men went to the bathroom. Let me tell you about it.
Yeah.
I was at this lake, and I was with maybe friends and maybe family too. I can't remember because I was really little. But the guys were all like, okay, well, you go back to the boat or you go back to the house and we're going to go away. And I was like, no, I want to come. And they're like, no, you can't come. We'll see you later. And they walk off into the woods. And I was like, I'll show them. I'm going to go along. I can go with the boys whenever I want to go with the boys. And I was just born this way, you guys.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I waited until they were out of sight. And then I marched off to follow them. And then I came around the corner and they were all peeing on trees. And I was like, whoa. And I turned and booked my little butt back to the house.
Those were the first penises you ever saw?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember I used to, like, when it was just me.
Like, not just that, but like seeing them doing something I didn't understand, and the embarrassment of realizing that they were going to the bathroom, and then like feeling bad. Like, when I say embarrassment, I mean like feeling bad that they didn't want me to see something and now I'm invading that.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would have had
How
the
old
right
were
words
you?
for that. It's probably like 7 or 8.
Oh yeah, no,
I was
such innocent.
I was so. Oh yeah, it wasn't like but I remember the feeling of, I don't care that you just told me no, I'm going with you.
Right. Yeah.
And recognizing that this was like they're going to the bath. That's how they go to the bath. Oh, that was very
wow.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
I'll never ever
Children's
forget that.
perspectives is really interesting, though, because I can remember, like, when it was just me and Mackenzie home alone, like when she was really young, I would leave the door unlocked if I was taking a shower, just in case she needed to ask me something. But then I would usually lock it when I got out, when I was drying off and stuff, just for a couple seconds. But I forgot to one day, and she, of course, that was exactly when she busted in. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, hold on, I'll be out there in just a second. So she left. And then the first thing she asked me when I got out of the bathroom was, what was that hanging off of your butt?
Wait, your penis is on your butt?
I mean, from her perspective, because she was like 4.
Wait, what? I'm just kidding.
Oh, she must have seen you from behind or something. And...
She was just trying to describe
I guess,
it.
or side view.
That's
I
so
don't know,
funny.
but I will never forget that question.
This is the moment Jonathan realizes that most guys' penises are in the front.
Yeah. But I just remember thinking, like, I was kind of horrified. I mean, I shouldn't have been horrified, I guess, but I was just kind of like embarrassed. And then I was also like, that was a really cute question.
I guess I have no shame or no embarrassment. I've had those conversations. Of course, I have only boys too, so I don't know what it would be like to have a girl.
That is a bit of a difference.
Yeah.
I guess you're right. I don't think it would be for me, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I would feel the same way.
My husband, he pees in front of Iris.
Okay
I don't think we obviously don't care. We're just like doing whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And so she'll look and she'd be like, "What you do, Daddy? You pee pee?" And he's like, "Yep. Why don't you go stand over there?" And he just acts real casual about it. So we'll see how we mess up our kid.
That's right. Everybody does a little bit.
We might be making a mistake. Anyway, back to
enough talk about our Peter Parkers. Let's get back to Spider-Man.
I want to say my favorite outtake was the King of the North. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I laughed so hard at the King of the North outtake.
Yeah, that was good. What else do you have to add, Jonathan?
You said to add, but I thought you said, what else do you have, Dad? I was very confused there for a second. I like the I'm pretty sure the movie Aloha was the anti-Aloha.
Yes, that was great.
I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that we tackled, because Jeremy and I both are pretty much of the same mind on the Iron Man stuff, or the Iron Spider as we call it.
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoyed all of that. I did not see any comments specific to the momentum sin that you claimed last week would people would yell
commented.
At us.
I mean, I haven't seen any, so I was 100%
I haven't
wrong.
either.
I remember you were worried about the physics of a sin. Yeah, I remember
It's when he
that
jumped
now.
out of the bus.
Yeah. Well,
And we attested that he couldn't have kept up. Or how did we put it? Like the momentum, I guess, would have been off.
Yeah.
And you're saying that that's not the case.
I mean, in the vacuum, it's not the case.
oh my God,
But
here
he
we go with the friggin' vacuum again. All right, let's move on before
if Peter had been in a swimming motion, would it,
Right,
would it
exactly.
have been better?
Oh God.
We thought a vacuum killed Jonathan, but actually the word vacuum is going to kill Danae eventually.
It's gonna turn me into a villain, and I'm gonna kill people. That's what's gonna happen.
We had a sin in reference to the Black Sheep song, "The Choice Is Yours," and Jeremy did that perfectly.
Nice.
You can get with this, or you can get with that.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
I
also
thought
like
he was gonna like more or less rap it, but the way he did it was even better.
I like that you guys address the whole like blipping back into reality and ask the questions about where people would reappear. You talk about like on the ocean or subway cars, and so I was glad to see
like
that conversation.
Where somebody
continue.
else is standing.
Yeah.
Or
I mean,
into
and I think
your
they
own.
touched on that a little bit in the end game video too. So we were kind of playing off that.
But it's well done because this is a different movie. You're outside of that mindset, and then you're seeing it through the camera lens of somebody at like a gymnasium or something. Yeah.
Well, and they treat it as a joke in this movie.
We showed the gymnasium scene and not the men's room.
Yes, brilliant stuff. I loved that. Because that's a good point about the whole like undoing of the thing.
One of my favorite jokes was nobody dies on my watch. I mean, technically Iron Man did.
We shouldn't be laughing. That's dark.
No, we should. We should definitely laugh.
No, but it was very true.
Yeah.
Although he wasn't really watching him. Well, there was that whole thing too about like I can't remember who even does. I guess Mysterio says something to Peter about letting Iron Man die, and it's like, no, wait, that was nowhere near his fault. Like, nor would he think it was.
Man, every time Mysterio is said, I think about Rey Mysterio from WWE.
Of course you do.
He's actually a very, very cool villain in the comics, and they do a really good job here. And Jake Gyllenhaal is awesome. I mean, he gives a great performance. I just wish they had. I just wish it hadn't been like he worked for Tony Stark. But within this universe, I guess it makes sense. And also, I will say though, we had a comment that said just very simply, the guy's lack of understanding was embarrassing at some points, but didn't actually bother to mention where we were wrong. So if anyone wants to take me on in Spider-Man trivia, please you can tweet at me. I'm here.
The gauntlet has been dropped.
Although they probably were just talking about stuff within the MCU universe. And we did get some comments too about where we bring up the multiverse isn't really established. And, people are like, what about Doctor Strange? But I mean, even still, I mean, it made no sense that this wouldn't have been checked out.
Yeah.
Like that Mysterio just shows up and says, I'm from Earth 317 or whatever. And like no one checked that.
Yeah.
Like, no one did anything.
Someone who hasn't seen that movie, that was very confusing. I don't understand anything that's happening.
It's kind of confusing in the movie because like they just kind of like they're in a situation and they just kind of take this guy and then they kind of throw away the line like, well, all the other Avengers are busy.
Yeah.
Which is pretty. I mean, that happens in the comics too. I mean, that's just kind of one of those things you either have to accept or not accept.
Right. Yeah. For sure.
So
let's move
on.
on.
I really wasn't like trying to threaten anybody. I was just joking around about that. But
oh no,
No,
Jonathan, it's too late now.
Everybody knows now.
People are coming after you.
Look forward to it.
Let's move on to You've Got Mail. This was an Atkinson Hughes script. Chris and Danae wrote on this, and I'm going to be honest right off the bat. I watched the wrong video. I have not watched this video.
Oh, my heart hurts.
I'm so sorry. I will do homework and I will let you I will let everybody know how I feel about
Nope.
They're behind the scenes.
Nope, you got to watch it now.
I don't think we have time for that.
There was another video.
Behind the scenes, things got moved around and I watched the wrong one. I just now realizing that. So, I guess it's look, Danae's pouting.
It's fine. It's
because
just
she wrote on it.
Yeah, that's
Jonathan, tell Danae how amazing she did on this video.
She did a great job. This was I assisted with the edit too, so I was very involved in this video. So it was a really fun one to work on.
Yeah.
I guess I'll start here with the movie. I remember really enjoying this movie, but I haven't revisited it in a long time. So I guess my first question is, do you feel like this movie holds up? Like,
no.
Okay, that's what I wondered.
Well, okay, that's a two-part question. One is there something in the movie that is so outlandish based on, gender equality
Sure,
we're talking about or
hasn't aged well.
Yeah. There wasn't anything that stood out that was like offensive.
Okay.
No.
So I'm saying what doesn't age well is I think that now it would be very clear that Tom Hanks is a stalker.
Right. That's what I wondered.
Yeah. And the idea of a love story developing in this way is possible. People fall in love online all the time.
Sure.
But how it kind of goes
but
down.
he lies to her. Like,
yeah.
He is very
well,
he also seems a little obsessive. Like, even in those like scenes with Dave Chappelle where, I mean, they kind of play him in the movie like, oh, he's so cute and sweet. Like, but he says crazy stuff like, I'd be dumb not to just marry her. Like, what are you talking about?
Okay, let me ask this. I think this is good. Danae, I'm going to ask you to speak for all women. I know you love that.
Oh, great. My favorite thing.
No,
it's better than me or Aaron speaking for all women.
That's right. You're here.
That's right.
You've got ovaries. Let's do this.
That's right. Okay.
It's such a weird line.
Just make sure that if you say fallopian tubes, you don't make it plural. I just have one. Just,
right.
Just for future.
Listen, if you ever use the phrase, you've got ovaries, let's do this in your day-to-day life, you say maybe step back.
Oh my God.
I didn't think about that.
But that could have been a line from the Tom Hanks character in this movie.
Right. Yeah. Anyhow, no, I just want to know your opinion, because media for a long time elevated the idea of the man chasing, like the chase, right? The man chases the woman and eventually the woman relents and they have a beautiful, relationship kind of thing, right?
Yes.
We still see it echoed in pop culture and movies and that kind of stuff. I think we've matured to the place where we're like, oh, or here's another option. You could just build a relationship, and if somebody says, no, I'm not interested, you could go look elsewhere, like that whole thing. So I'm asking you from your perspective as a woman, not to speak for all women, but as a woman, is there something about being chased that is positive, that is something, is there a reason from your perspective that myth or that, thing would progress like that? I get from the male perspective because males like to hunt. Males want to capture things. You know what I mean? So
I want to fight you so bad right now.
Well, fine, do it. Yeah,
but it's because I don't like being hunted.
FYI.
I don't like being chased.
I agree. Yeah, that's what I want to hear.
I want to fight or flight.
Right.
So, but I also need someone to decide what we're going for dinner, and so there's a certain amount of like aggressive decision making I can appreciate.
Right. Yeah. But as far as being chased, is that attractive?
No.
Okay.
Not
I
to
think
me.
that's important for people to hear, because I do think there is an element of what movies have said for so long.
Here's the thing. If I say I'm not interested and then you say, I don't think you know what you're talking about, you're interested, that makes me less interested, and then my anger meter starts to go up a little bit. Now, when I was younger, my anger meter was broken and it went straight to 10. I've worked for years at that
to reinstall a new anger meter?
The gradation, working up towards it. But my leash is pretty short for people who say things assumptively about what I do and do not want.
Well, and you've lived it. You had the guy bring flowers to your work after you told him you weren't interested.
Mm-hmm.
And when he's doing that, I think he is patterning himself after what he's seen as work in the movie.
It works.
Yeah.
It works for Tom Hanks to do all of these things.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something that when I look at older movies, I understand why I was raised a certain way to think about, men, to think about relationships, to think about my place in them, even from media that I watched, how it influences you without you really even knowing. Mm-hmm. Because I would say, even though I don't like being chased, I also don't know that I've, when I was dating, I don't know that I knew how to be a chaser. I was kind of it was a different dating experience for me. But that being said, when I saw a picture of my husband online, we joked that I stalked him because I saw his picture. I was like, he's cute and he's local. And we went to school together and I want a boyfriend.
Yeah, but he never had a moment where he told you, leave me alone, I'm not interested.
No.
Right? So that's what I'm saying. So
that's
fine.
The most
that's
aggressive I ever got was being like, I think you're attractive. Let's figure out if there's chemistry between us. Yeah. And there wasn't.
And then you said, please try not to crap yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
And there wasn't. But we got married anyway.
Yeah, we're doing the thing.
No, but I've had I've heard women, female friends of mine, say how they ended up with their better half or their husband or whatever, that he pursued them and eventually they just kind of he wore off on them, and I'm like, that doesn't sound very romantic, but okay,
it's a thing.
It is a thing, and Justin, he'll tell you that once we started dating, he's like, he knew that we were going to get married. He knew that we were going to be together, but he still wasn't on the aggressive with that.
And you guys broke up, I think, once, right?
That's why I said there was no chemistry.
Oh.
Yeah, we did break up for quite a while. So, but yeah, I think this movie is dated in that way. I think there's some other things that are really dated about it. Obviously, the technology is really dated, which can sometimes be fun when you're watching an older movie, just to remember where things came from. In this movie, everyone is so incredibly shocked by the technology. It's all tech. Mm-hmm. Meg Ryan has a boyfriend. Tom Hanks has a girlfriend. They're both trash people. But Meg's boyfriend is all against technology and he rages about it and he says dumb things about it. And then she's going online in secret to chat or to send emails back and forth with this stranger. And it's never known how they met. You just kind of know that they've been conversing. And then it kind of switches whenever it goes to instant message. And all of a sudden she gets her very first instant message. And that makes the conversation real time instead of exchanging letters. And having been somebody who was around in that moment when the internet kind of shifted from email to instant messages and chat rooms and things like that, I remember that excitement too. And so I can relate to some of what they're experiencing, talking to a complete stranger that you're developing an intellectual relationship with rather than a sexual relationship. It's literally based on nothing other than what is in their mind and their ability to write. Mm-hmm. And I understand. I completely understand that part of it. And so for me, revisiting that is a lot of fun, even though the technology is obviously incredibly outdated, and so much has changed since. I make this joke about reverse catfishing because at one point in time, then Tom realizes that it's her. And then rather than tell her, he just tries to kind of win her over or see her in everyday life to see if they have some kind of a compatibility. And they begin to actually kind of develop a friendship. And rather than, tell her anything, he just goes and then meets her as the secret guy. And then she's like, I was hoping that it was you the whole time. And, they kiss. And we make this point, I should say, Chris makes this point. It was his joke at the end, which was but where is the rest of that story? At what point does Meg say, when did you know? How long have you been trolling me? When did you realize?
The movie doesn't even
doesn't address it at all.
Yeah.
She just kind of accepts it and it moves on, which means that she's accepting the romantic parts and she's accepting the best parts of him, which is really, really beautiful. But there's not a lot of questions in there about how did you know where I live? How did you get here?
Right.
Why are, he kind of starts to become a little bit of a jerk to her on email to sort of push her away a little bit and then becomes better friends with her. So it's all very manipulative to kind of get the girl. But Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan together on screen are fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And so I loved watching this again. It's been a long time. I loved watching it again and just thinking about it. Like, my family is a bookstore family. So I actually have lived the story of a little hometown bookstore closing or losing, momentum because of a big bookstore coming in. So there's a lot of things I really like and kind of valued from this.
That part of the story bothers me a little bit, though, especially because her store is specifically kids' books.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think I think in a lot of those scenarios, like the niche bookstores like that are the ones that tend to survive in these kind of situations. And I am a huge reader, as I've talked about on this show before. And yes, it would be great if we could have all these mom and pop bookstores back. But at the same time, I mean, if we didn't have Barnes and Noble, we probably wouldn't have bookstores. So I've kind of, it's a weird thing to try to grapple with in your mind.
I think the variety would definitely be very, very different. We'd have limited access to books because little bookstores, they can't do buying volume, and of course Barnes and Noble can do buying volume. I also think that the backstory or the story of the bookstore thing, it really is strange when you really start to kind of poke around on it. I totally agree with you on that. She has a thriving business at the beginning of this. There's kids that are piled in there. When she opens the store, the first time you see her open the store, the phone is immediately ringing. They're taking orders over the phone. They're taking orders online or whatever they're doing. She clearly has something. And it's referenced later on that she is like this famous author. Or not author, she's a famous person in the children's book industry because whatever she reads and likes becomes a bestseller. So there's this whole validation to her as a professional that's not touched on hardly at all. And then when Fox Books comes in to think that it completely crumbles, and she does this whole like media blitz and that was one of the things that Chris mentioned. He said, I think my favorite thing I picked up on this was when Meg Ryan takes Tom Hanks's advice to, quote, go to the mattresses and use the media to drum up interest in her store and take down Fox Books. The movie shows it working, but then all of a sudden we're informed that there was no spike in sales at all.
Right.
And that was the confusing part of this movie. Watching it, this is one of the things I would say falls apart a bit, is there's an entire media blitz. She's on every single TV in all of the workout places. There's rallies to try to save her bookstore, but there's no sales to drive it. And I think that was just all a plot. It was all just to show the demise of something that we love. And it was, emotional to me to see. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Well, yeah, because at that one point, the Parker Posey character just kind of mentions, I might hire her for, I can't remember, for consulting or something.
Yeah,
I can't.
Publishing, I think.
Yeah. Sorry, that was all I had.
Aaron, what did you like about this? Oh, wait, you didn't watch it.
I know.
I'm just kidding. I'm giving you crap.
Yeah, let's talk about the video specifically, though, which, again, I haven't seen. Jonathan, what did you think about did you have anything specific from the video you wanted to bring up?
I mean, Danae touched on it, but I did like that you called out the Greg Kinnear and Parker Posey characters. I think at one point you called them two unsuitable significant others.
Yes, that was Chris. He said, I hated Parker Posey and Greg Kinnear's characters.
Kinnear.
Romantic comedies always make the current boyfriend-girlfriend super unacceptable to the point it makes no sense the leads are with them. It's a common trope, and I hate it.
Yeah.
Well, and you guys even pointed out that it kind of has like that When Harry Met Sally dynamic to it, right? Was it When Harry Met Sally that he refers to?
Yes. Talking about
how like that somebody's the Bruno Kirby character and somebody's Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And then I also like the joke about it being a sequel to the movie Punchline. For some reason, not for some reason because it's funny, but the acknowledging New Jersey sin was really funny.
Yes. And that got some love in the comments too.
Yeah, and then you guys also talked about how like there's that whole bit where Tom Hanks is really worried that there's going to be like rioters and picketers and stuff because he's opening a bookstore, which probably never would have happened. And you guys even bring up that there would be zero conflict about that.
That was another one of those unnecessary no payoff moments where like Fox Books is opening, and so Tom Hanks has David Chappelle walking through the store before it's actually built, and they're talking about how they're going to be rioted and picketed, and then the sins are always like, they're not. They won't. No, like it won't happen. And then whenever they open the store, they even go back and say, well, there's no riders or picketers. And Chris is like, yeah, it's almost like that was just a pointless thing.
Yeah.
I had a lot of they won't, this won't happen, but it doesn't, because this happens so much in the script.
Yeah.
And I even wrote to Chris when I sent him my script, I said, hey, I've got a lot of this in the script, like cut whatever you don't want. But there was like a recurring thing, and there was a recurring skip also that I had. There's a lot of emotion that Meg Ryan has tied to her mom because it was her mom's bookstore. And so she talks about that a lot. And so I just kind of gradually build the skip. I had this kind of vision for that. It changed the pace of the script a little bit. So we cut that, but we had fun writing it. So.
Yeah. One of the things I see in the comments, this is a great joke. Some people cry when animals die. Some people cry when shops are closed. I'm crying because there's another half hour of this movie.
That was me.
And then,
yeah.
And then the comment says there isn't enough aloe in the world to soothe that burn. So I like that.
I will say, considering how much you hated the movie that was supposed to be out this week, or they got shuffled around, I'm surprised you like this one as much as you do.
I would definitely choose this movie over the one that's not coming out. And I have to tell you guys, I was so excited to talk about the movie that I hate so much that I tweeted about. It got a lot of attention, but we can't talk about it yet.
Not yet.
Eventually.
Eventually we will, but not
yet.
Not yet.
All right, we ready to move on to keeping tabs?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
Oh, jeez.
This is the most public yet of my many humiliations.
Let's each tell a funny story from putting together the content this week.
Wait.
Danae.
Hey, Aaron. Wait.
Danae.
I forgot one thing from this one that I loved.
Danae.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. There is one sin on this that I laughed so hard. When I wrote it, I didn't know if it was going to make it in, but it's like, you know, the meme of like SpongeBob and he's got like the pointy beak and he's got his arms back and then like all the words are lowercase cap, lowercase cap, lowercase cap.
Uh-huh.
So I wrote a lowercase cap thing and pitched it. And Chris, I had it where it was only like the first couple words. He made the entire sentence that kind of meme feel.
Uh-huh.
And we sent it to Jeremy and his delivery on it. I laughed so hard. I sent him a personal message and said, you doing this. And of course he didn't remember because he does so much.
Yeah.
So he went and watched it and we just laughed together.
That's great.
It was my favorite, but it's, how interesting and pointless to the momentum of this truly captivating drama. Aaron, when you watch this, that's the one that I want. That's the only thing I care that you. That's the only part that I care
All
that
right,
you see.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
I
forgot
we got
it in.
I forgot about it.
No.
Okay.
And it was
good.
could I say something too about, because I didn't work on the script, but then I worked on the edit, and when I heard that the first time, because Aaron can attest to this. You're just going through listening for things. I thought something was wrong with the audio.
Yeah.
But then I saw how it was written, and I was like, "Oh, that's how he's supposed to say it." But I was just like, "Oh my god, what the hell happened to the audio? Was my computer broken?" It was a freak out moment for about 2 seconds.
Nice. Well, I can't wait. I will eventually watch it.
Yeah, you have to let me know what you think.
And I will let you know what I think.
Okay.
We're just going to tell a story from putting together the content for the week, something that maybe made us laugh, made us think, some research we did, a sin that was deleted. And that's where I'm going to start this week, with a sin that was deleted from the Pickle Rick script. This is very specifically an Aaron sin, and at the end of the day, it just didn't necessarily work with the script, but I have to get it out there because it's true. This comes from the moment where Pickle Rick says to the cockroach, "That's it, come and get some of this delicious brine." And there is no such thing as delicious brine. So I wrote this sin. Delicious brine is an oxymoron. Brine was originally something people put up with as a way to make their vegetable harvest last longer. But after years of eating it, people have tricked themselves into thinking that they like it. You don't like the taste of pickles. No one does. You've just been conditioned over generations. Pickles are basically the Stockholm syndrome of the food universe.
Whoa. You hate brine.
Oh, yeah. You put stuff in vinegar so that it will last longer. But we don't need to do that anymore. Vinegar is awful.
It's so yummy.
No. It's like coffee.
Salt
People
and vinegar
have tricked
chips.
themselves into thinking they like coffee. They've tricked themselves into thinking they like vinegar.
Yesterday's snack for me
What
was
about sweet
coffee and
pickles?
salt and vinegar chips. I just want to say.
Did you dip the salt and vinegar chips in the coffee?
Yes.
Nice.
But seriously, what about sweet pickles? I mean, that's got flavor to it.
That is like putting cream in your coffee. It is trying to hide the natural horribleness of the pickle itself.
I disagree with you, and pickles are awesome. So do you count that as like jalapenos the same way?
No, jalapenos is a natural taste. That's that's more of a thing that happens in nature. That's not something we did,
But aren't those like a version of pickle or something?
Jalapenos?
Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, I
Maybe
think those
I'm
are just
wrong.
peppers.
Oh, I guess they are just peppers. I'm just an idiot.
People used to pickle all sorts of things. People used to pickle eggs. Like people still eat pickled eggs. Like, it was a way so that they didn't go bad.
But Peter Piper picked a peck of pickin' pepper pickles.
that was just said that way for the tongue twister. Then it was never a real story. There was
Peter's Piper picked a pickle.
What about Peter's pickle?
It was a pickled pepper that Peter picked. Dang it.
Anyhow, now you know. You're suffering from Stockholm syndrome if you like pickles. I just needed to get that out there.
Some people like pickles.
Maybe you should maybe it's nostalgia, not Stockholm syndrome. I don't know. That seems a little dark.
My keeping tabs, I had several from You've Got Mail. Since things were done in different times, I was trying to kind of get a general feel for the time frame.
Yeah.
But I learned that Meg Ryan hadn't owned a computer before this movie. This was the first time she'd actually interacted with a computer while filming this one. And then I was also, speaking of weird things that old men do in movies with women, there was a reference in this to the grandpa saying that Cecilia was too young to date, but he maybe dated her anyway. And then there's this the dad character. So there's the grandpa that was talking about dating a girl that was too young for him, but she was real pretty. And then there was then his son jokes around about dating all of the nannies, like Tom Hanks when he was a boy, whatever. His nannies, and so then he was really into younger women, and he kept changing down to younger and younger. And the woman, then this woman that he was about to marry or had just married was flirting with Tom Hanks the whole time, even though it was technically her stepmom. There was just this super inappropriate, awkward sexual stuff happening in this one that was really uncomfortable to watch.
I mean, you look back at the history of especially music and just the way that male vocalists sexualize young females, even the Beatles, right? And I saw her standing there. She was just 17. You know what I mean? It's that whole thing is
It was
very
weird. So I was trying to look up what was how old was the grandma. I was trying to find out time periods and stuff and make some sort of reference about it. Honestly, at the end of it, I felt so gross and icky. I didn't even want it to be in a script to bring attention to it in a way. But trigger warnings, that part got pretty awkward for me, and I ended up just kind of whatever. There was also a reference to Meg was basically what I was trying to do was make one combined joke of all of the weird things that were happening, but it was too bulky because there was another moment when Meg references that she's practically living with him, but the wording of that is so weird because he was living with her. So that's even kind of a weird, just male dominant thinking. But like I said, ultimately I ended up just kind of scrapping all of the things. And
I just think we, as a culture, it takes a long time to deal with the natural consequences of the patriarchy. You know what I mean? The natural consequences of the power dynamic, because it's just the way the world has worked in the past. Girls were married off in at 14 or 15. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so we're
trade goods.
Yeah, exactly. And so we're just
childbearing.
Not in
trade
1998.
Goods.
Well, no, but that is how
but
long.
It still lingers,
right? That it just lingers, just in the culture. It's just the consequences of it.
Well, yeah, that's true. Because his dad, the Dabney Coleman character, when he was a kid, it would have been a certain way, and then when the grandfather was a kid,
and that's why it's so important to continue. I think as a culture to continue to wrestle with these things, because if we pretend it's better now, we're not wrestling with those lingering consequences. It goes for racism as well, right? All of these things that our culture has to wrestle with, we still have to look in the dark, ugly face of.
I don't know. I'm kind of thinking here as I'm thinking of this. There's some really beautiful things about this movie. And here we are talking about it again. And I'm sorry. But so you've got this grandfather and then you've got this father who chases younger women. And even the dad even references when Tom Hanks breaks up with his girlfriend. The dad even references if he can go date her.
Or would he like her?
Like, hey, would I like her?
Yeah.
Like, and Tom is like, okay, Dad. And it makes it kind of awkward. But then you think about like what Tom is taking forward. Tom had a girlfriend that he was living with and was basically affairing it up on the internet with somebody and like dropped her to go chase after someone else. So there was just this interesting stuff. And I guess maybe that's just how our culture is. We want to talk about that substance rather than the silly love story part of it.
Yeah,
I mean, love isn't necessarily silly, and some love can be fantastical and amazing. And, you know, some things about that movie, like I mentioned, were really good. Like even Chris talked about how good Meg Ryan was in this movie. This is the type of movie that was her bread and butter. But like the performance of this wasn't as memorable. Maybe it's because of these things. Who knows?
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, that's great stuff.
You know, one thing I did really like, though, you're talking about like odd scenes like that. That scene where Greg Kinnear and Meg Ryan's characters break up, I thought that was great.
I did too. I actually really like that too.
I think there's a lot of relationships that end that way, where it's just like we're done, like we don't love each other anymore.
Well, the good thing about that scene was that they did it in like a loving way. Yeah. Where they're like, you don't love me, do you? Oh, good. I don't love you either. And then there was this relief and then the smile, like, well, do you love someone else? And it was just sort of like a care for each other thing.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like now in movies and stuff, there has to be this dramatic thing that happened that gives you a reason to leave rather than just realizing you don't have any lasting deep emotions for someone or a desire to stay with them.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people, like I've heard this with a lot of, couples that live together, maybe aren't married, or even ones that get married, it's kind of becomes almost, they become more like roommates than a couple.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was kind of the situation they were presenting with those two. Like neither one of them, I mean, he was a little bougie and everything, but and they didn't make sense together. But I just love that moment because there's that one part too where he even says, "But on paper, we're so great together." Yeah. Which you guys send, which is great.
Yeah, that was. Chris did a great job on that one. Hey, remember we were talking about keeping tabs and then we went back to talking about You've Got Mail? Sorry about that, Aaron.
No, that's how it works.
Yeah, apparently we love You've Got Mail. It's an A.
It's an A.
Jonathan, what's your keeping tab?
Okay, so in Spider-Man Far From Home, there is a bit where Nick Fury, the Samuel Jackson character, he ends up shooting Peter's friend Ned and roommate in wherever they are at that point, Venice or whatever, shooting him with a tranquilizer dart.
Yeah.
And knocking him out. And for some reason, and we didn't use a lot of this, we ended up doing kind of a variation on this, but I did some research on tranquilizer darts because I had remembered reading an article years ago on Cracked, of all the websites, that just talked about it was essentially what I found out with the article was essentially like things that happen in movies that could cause death but don't. And tranquilizer darts were a big one because, you have like a tranquilizer dart or sedative. So like most people that would get hit with that, you'd either be a little woozy, but you wouldn't like knock out immediately, or you would probably just instantly die. There's not a lot of in between. And the way a sedative works is it suppresses your brain functions and it basically artificially induces a coma. But the amount for you would be very specific.
Right. This is why they get paid real big bucks at the hospital.
Yeah, exactly. You have anesthesiologists. I know I said that wrong.
No, you did. You said it right.
My slight Southern accent won't let me say certain words.
Anesthesiologist.
Yeah, anesthesiologist. So Nick Fury would have no way to know that Ned was going to be the one that he was going to have to trank.
And how much
so
to
I just
administer.
thought that was a little odd. He could have very easily killed him. But this is like all movies are like this. Like, old school where Will Ferrell shoots himself in the throat. And, you see this in movies over and over. And I just thought that was interesting that, and then even if it only did knock you unconscious, like Danae was talking about, if you didn't have an anesthesiologist, you could very easily die, even while you're sleeping, because if you weren't being monitored.
Yeah.
So anyways, so I just kind of did a deep dive into, why movies don't know how tranquilizer darts work.
Nice.
Or sedatives, I guess.
That's
Very
right.
Nice. All right, let's move on to the comment section.
I want to know what you're thinking.
I appreciate your honesty. You're a real straight shooter.
You are the ones who are the ball lickers.
Let's each pick a comment to respond to from the week's videos, as well as a question from you. Danae, what's your comment this week?
From You've Got Mail from Kyler Devon said, just want to put this out there. Never go from one of these videos to watching porn. All you can hear in your head is the voice count flaws throughout the video. I just wanted really good advice.
Very nice. What about you, Jonathan?
Oh, this was actually from You've Got Mail. I thought this was really interesting, a take on it. This was Anduril. That's how I'm going to pronounce it. Said, got to give props to the movie, though. They actually generated a genuine conflict between the two leads. Most romantic comedies, they fall madly in love from the get-go and then manufacture some bullshit conflict halfway through to justify them breaking up and yada yada. Here, the biggest problem is they both admit more information than you likely would in real life, but they otherwise do a decent job of showing the conflict without lazily half-assing it like nearly every romantic movie does.
There you go.
I don't know that I agree with all of that, but I thought that was a very interesting take on the material. I guess I'm kind of surprised people think that much about this movie.
Well, apparently we do. We've had like 2 separate deep discussions on this movie.
I'm sorry.
No,
Well,
you don't need to apologize.
Tom Hanks is my favorite actor, and Meg Ryan is one of my favorites.
She is like next to the word adorable in the dictionary. I always see a picture of Meg Ryan in my head. Like she is.
And then unfortunately just stopped getting hired.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is that about? There's got to be
Hollywood.
some tea or something. I don't know.
Did some movies that didn't do so well.
My comment comes to us from the Spider-Man video. It's AJS Catman. Says, when Mysterio's drones are a better reality stone than the actual reality stone. I thought that was hilarious because it's so true. Basically, he can do anything with those drones, and
they're magical drones. I want one for Christmas.
Like having the reality stone. So I thought that was a really clever comment. We'll move into your questions for the week. I guess I'll start here. I got some toe pictures. I finally got some toe pictures.
No, you didn't.
I did. I got two sets.
Oh my God.
Dicer living his best life.
Yeah, Quentin Tarantino would love my inbox this last week.
Oh, God.
So
what is happening right now?
So anyhow, let me just say this about the pictures I got. I was absolutely 100% correct. You guys are wrong. Your toes are not doing the same thing that you think they're doing. Like, they are not doing the thing that's on that Rick and Morty tow truck. Your toes bend in an interesting way. That's cool. Like, you have good toe dexterity. I was very impressed with your toe dexterity. The way that you can keep your big toe up and bend all your other toes quite a bit. But they are not flat against the bottom of your foot where your entire toe up to the second knuckle is parallel to the heel of your foot. Like, that's just not happening. So I agree people's toes do different things, but I also still think the sin stands. So until I'm proven otherwise, keep sending your toe pictures.
So far,
to
no
Behind
one's
the Sins
got
Pod.
the ape grip going
That's
on.
right. Behind the Sins Pod at gmail.com. All your pictures are welcome there.
And I want to say,
Nice.
I'm not monitoring that email anymore. That lasted for 1 week.
That's right.
So send away. Not that I have a tophobe, but
Right.
that's funny. That's amazing.
Oh, dude, I do. I don't have a problem admitting that.
All right.
I do not want to see feet pictures.
The question this week also comes from the email. This is from Joel, who says, which of the streaming services do you think has the best original content? I find myself always being drawn to Amazon Prime with things like Jack Ryan and Mrs. Maisel. By the way, before we start, I will say I actually just watched the latest seasons of Jack Ryan and Mrs. Maisel the last couple of weeks now that my movie binge is through for the year. So I caught up on those. And Jack Ryan was okay. And Mrs. Maisel was great. So
Yeah, I haven't seen either yet. My wife just binged all 3 seasons of Mrs. Maisel.
Oh, it's so good.
She said it's one of the best things she's ever
Oh,
seen.
it's so good. It's really, really good.
Yeah, she just couldn't wait for me, apparently. So that's fine.
What do you think, Jonathan? What's the streaming service that has the best quality original stuff?
I can't. It's still Netflix, right? I mean, it has to be Netflix. Granted, Amazon Prime, I think, is definitely sticking its foot in the game. But like, as far as just the quantity and the quality, I mean, just this year alone, you had Unbelievable, you had Sex Education, Russian Doll, When They See Us, Dead to Me, The Society, new seasons of Big Mouth, Dark, Stranger Things, BoJack Horseman, The Witcher. The Witcher just premiered, which I watched a couple episodes of and enjoyed. Lost in Space is about to have its 2nd season.
Black Mirror,
and then movies. Marriage Story, Irishman, Two Popes, Highwaymen, Atlantics.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't get away from Netflix
Dolomite.
On that question. Now, I do think it's possible something will overtake it at some point. Maybe HBO Max.
Well,
maybe Disney Plus will do a little more stuff that's not reality shows.
I think HBO Max, if it was already a legitimate streaming service,
that was my question, because like when you talk about streaming service, I do think about like Hulu. I think about Amazon.
Hulu counts.
I think about
Hulu definitely
Netflix,
counts.
right? I think about those because those are to me clear.
Mhm.
But then you've got like HBO Go. That's a streaming app, but it's for a channel. But
Right.
and so we're in that weird sort of phase where you've got all of these.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like they're doing their own thing. I can go on and get HBO Go right now and stream Watchmen,
incredible
Game
shows.
of Thrones,
Yeah.
Euphoria, which I haven't watched a lot of those, but I've heard people talk about how amazing they are. Like Chernobyl's on there. Let's see, Mrs. Fletcher, you guys have talked about, Big Little Lies, Westworld, like there's lots that you guys have. I've heard you guys talk about.
No, you're right.
So
I
the
took
difference
this question to be specific to streaming services that
Yeah.
don't have their own channels.
Right, and so here's where I would draw the difference. CBS All Access, right, is a streaming service.
Correct.
It is owned by Viacom. It's a CBS company that produces a lot of shows on their TV channels, right? But they also have a Star Trek show that is original content for their
I
streaming
would totally
service.
count CBS Access in this conversation.
But HBO still hasn't launched. Now, when HBO Max comes out, they are going to start launching
Streaming only shows.
Correct.
Okay, I got you.
like there's a new Gossip Girl show that's going to be on
Okay.
there, and many things have been announced.
Well,
I
then
was just
I'm
looking
with
at the top of my
Jonathan. It's
head.
got to be Netflix, right?
Yeah, I think it is Netflix. I
I mean,
don't know.
Hulu. I don't really go to Hulu for that much original
No.
content.
No,
I couldn't
I don't
really think
either.
of much.
I don't either. The only I have gone to Amazon Prime for some children's show. Like one of my favorites is Tumbleleaf. I love that show. Iris loves that show. So there's good stuff everywhere. But I don't usually think about Amazon as a streaming service for content. But this email reminds me that I should.
And it may just be my TV, but in the streaming wars, Amazon Prime has the worst user interface. I hate Amazon.
I don't like YouTube TV for that same reason.
Yeah, I don't mind YouTube TV.
Not
but
like a streaming service, but just as far as their interface, I don't like their interface.
yeah,
What about Amazon's? I'm kind of curious because I mean I don't know, what is it about Amazon's
it's
interface?
just ugly and clunky, and I always have to search for what I mean. Mrs. Maisel is like their biggest show, and I can't find it anywhere on my front page, and I have to go search for
Gotcha.
everything. And
You're not alone. There's actually Reddit threads about it being the worst.
It's the user
Netflix
interface
is making me
awful.
mad though because a lot of the times when you go on the Netflix app, it just starts something.
Yeah, that doesn't bother me too much.
Whatever they're advertising at the top,
like a preview
I
or
had
whatever.
two Popes start on me like 5 times, and I was trying to watch something else this weekend.
You know what they just instituted was for Netflix, when you sign in and you pick your user account, you can either pick continue or browse. Have you seen that? And so if you
No.
click continue, it just goes into whatever you were watching last. And if you
Interesting.
click browse, it'll take you to the home screen. So this is one way to
Interesting.
avoid that.
Cool.
Yeah. So anyways, I think Netflix is the answer. Disney Plus is too new.
Yeah.
I love Encore, but it's no way it's that one show is going in The Mandalorian. No way those two shows are going to compete with.
Once they start doing like their Marvel shows and
Right.
the Willow show, and I mean maybe some of that stuff we'll move it up, but
Yeah. Thank you, Joel, for the question. We appreciate it. If you've got a question for us, you can email us behindthesinspod@gmail.com. And I don't mean to confuse you, but we do have new emails you can use as well if it's easier for you to remember. If it's easier for you to remember BTS at cinemasins.com or Behind the Sins at cinemasins.com, all those will get to me. So
Also, Queen of Tots at no kidding.
So again, that's at cinemasins.com. So like if you do BTS at cinemasins.com, that'll get you. So however it does, we will continue to enjoy answering your questions. Let's move on to Beyond the Sins.
To infinity and beyond.
Somewhere beyond my wild history.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
All right, let's take a look at something else in the world of pop culture that we've seen recently. Jonathan, why don't you go first?
Okay, so the other movie, I guess, that had a wide release this weekend, not called Cats or Star Wars, was Bombshell, which I saw. And, this movie, I mean, I guess it's overall getting good reviews, but it seems like even the good reviews are kind of along the lines of the performances are good. The storyline is interesting, but they just kind of gloss over it. I don't know. I quite liked this movie a lot.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I thought this was a pretty powerful movie. It for those that don't know, it's about the sexual allegations that popped up at Fox News. I know 2016 was when he was actually let go.
Yeah.
But around 2015, 2016, the Fox News founder Roger Ailes was sued by initially Gretchen Carlson, and then other women came forward. And in this movie, Nicole Kidman plays Gretchen Carlson, Charlize Theron plays Megyn Kelly.
No.
and
You
Margot
said I'm sorry. You said
I'm
that
sorry?
wrong. You said that wrong. Charlize Theron actually is Megyn Kelly in this movie. I just wanted to clear that up.
Oh yeah, though that's a fair point.
She's incredible.
Yeah, she really is. All three of them are.
Yeah, for sure.
Margot Robbie plays a character named Kayla Pospisil is how I'm going to pronounce it. It's not a real person, but she's kind of, I guess, a composite of multiple people that do exist that were involved in this. But like you said, Theron is ridiculous. I mean, she just... And like I remember when I saw the previews to this, I didn't even recognize it was her. And I didn't at the time know she was playing Megyn Kelly.
Yeah, she spends like 3 hours a day getting ready to be Megyn Kelly.
Oh my God. I mean,
in
she
her voice,
nails
her
it.
delivery, it's mind-blowing. She is a talent, and we already knew that, but she continues to prove it over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, but I thought all three of them were, in their own way, were pretty great. Like, they were all doing very different things with their characters. In fact, my favorite scene, I tweeted about this. There's a scene where Gretchen Carlson is not my favorite scene necessarily, but a really good scene. There's a scene where Gretchen Carlson is in a grocery store, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And she is approached by a woman played by Katie Aselton, who is actually the wife of, all of a sudden, I can't think of his name. It's the guy that plays Charlize Theron's husband in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
He's Duplass.
I was gonna say it's Mark Duplass, right?
Mark Duplass. Yeah. That, or at least that was his wife in real life. I assume it still is. But she approaches Gretchen Carlson. She's even got, I think, a baby with her, and just kind of, I mean, not an attacker, but definitely lets her know that she can't stand her and she can't stand Fox News and all that stuff. And Nicole Kidman just kind of waves her off and just says, "I hope you're happy with yourself."
Yeah.
As she walks away, and it's a really small thing, but I tweeted something about it. It was like Twitter personified cinematically.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of beautiful in a weird way. I had some other people tweet back at me that they read the scene a little differently, but they did really like the scene. But it's just a really fascinating story. I didn't know that much about, and I hate to try to speculate whether or not. I'm sure some of this was for dramatic purposes, the order of everything. But there's really interesting character work in here. I love the way Theron plays Kelly, where she's grappling with whether or not, or what she's grappling with, how she should play the situation.
Right.
And I mean, I know there's probably a lot of people that would be like, you should have come forward years ago, or you shouldn't even be thinking about it. You should just come forward now. But I mean, there are stakes there. There are real stakes there for her career, and she wants to know what's true and what's not. She really wants to find out what exactly is going on, because they bring up a lot of interesting things about Ailes, where he's got this persona that he helps the underprivileged and the physically challenged, and he's given a lot to charities, and there's all that kind of stuff that's brought up about him. And it was really interesting seeing how the women in the workplace kind of corralled around him at first.
Yeah.
And were defending him at first. And I don't know, it's just, the whole thing is just really interesting. And maybe the movie doesn't dive all the way in, but it definitely dove in enough for me. It got my attention. And I think it's one of the better movies that have come out in 2019. So there you go.
I agree. I really enjoyed it. I think it's really well done and worth watching.
8 prosthetic pieces on her face.
Yeah.
Oh my God, really?
Mm-hmm. That then had to be, makeup had to be applied over the top of them to make them blend into her face. And then eyelashes put on in specific places to help change the look of her eye shape.
Yeah, I feel like Charlize watched Christian Bale do Dick Cheney last year and was like, hold my beer. Like that whole thing, like, watch me do this. So, hold my prosthetics.
It's also interesting too, because she has been very public about like her thoughts on playing the role too. So if you're interested, because it's such, obviously, like, there's truth to what's going on and what you're seeing, and then there's also an element of drama to it at the same time. So it's kind of cool to see her talking about that publicly.
Yeah. And I think it's worth a watch. What do you got, Danae?
I have another video game. Come at me. Listen, I have loved all of the responses I'm getting. Almost weekly, I get somebody who is catching up on, episodes, and they're finding games that they're really, really enjoying.
Yeah.
So super, super excited. I have not talked about this game, although I should have by now. This is one of the games I play every single day. And it's definitely one you're like, oh, roll your eyes maybe, but it's Brawl Stars. This is from like the Clash Royale world. If you don't know my gaming backstory, I was the leader of a really big clan on Clash Royale for years and stuff like this. And then I kind of needed to like walk away from it whenever I had my baby, because it was running a guild is very time consuming. And so I walked away from that. And they released Brawl Stars, which scratches this itch perfectly, where you can be in a group if you want to, but your success in the game is not dependent on people necessarily. Like you can still team up with a few people.
How big is Clash of Clans? Like that whole family of games, like people playing. It's pretty big, right? Like,
oh my God, probably one of the biggest.
One of the biggest mobile games.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It's huge. This Supercell is the ones who created it. They have their whole esports thing. So this is like one of those games where when you get into it, there's a lot that you can get overwhelmed by. This is definitely not the simplistic solitaire.
I dabbled, and then I was like, there's too much here. I don't have the time to be awesome at this.
But Supercell does a really good job of simplifying what you see when you start. So it's different than Clash Royale. If you're a Clash Royale person, this is one where it's like you versus one other person in real time, and you're defending your castles. This is a totally different style game. This is you and two other people with weapons going to kill the others in a map. They have different gaming styles. There's ones where you're playing soccer. There's ones where it's everyone for themselves.
You've shown me this. It reminds. What's the Nintendo game with the paint guns? It reminds me of that, where it's like this almost kind of a capture your flag type battle.
There's a capture flag.
Yeah.
There's ones where you build a robot as fast as you can by collecting pieces and get a super robot and then try to go attack a base. They're all like little timed matches though. So you can spend about 5 minutes playing and be done for the day, or you can get obsessed and play and play and play. Of course, there's different characters that you unlock. Some shoot guns like shotgun style. Some shoot them long distance. Some use their fists and pummel up close. So there's all these different kinds of tunes. And of course, you upgrade them as you go. But I think that's what Supercell does really, really well is it's fun to look at. It's bright and colorful. And the gameplay is smooth. And it makes sense what you're doing. There's a lot of games out there where it's just not, it doesn't make sense. You have to really spend a lot of time finding how you're going to upgrade or what you're going to do, blah, blah, blah. This is kind of it. It does a really good job. So anyway, I have created a CinemaSins group.
Ooh.
If you want to join me, I'm there every single day. We can become friends. You can team up with people and all play around together. I'm not making commitments that I'll be able to do that, but if you want to find a place to be and just hang out, just search for CinemaSins on the game. I'm sure you'll find me. If I have done something wrong, just tweet at me, let me know. But anyways, this is one of my most favorite games to play. Again, it's called Brawl Stars.
Very nice. When I mentioned that Nintendo game, I heard a million voices crying out to their MP3 players.
Yeah.
It is Splatoon.
Splatoon
is the name of that game.
Okay.
My Beyond the Sins is a little movie called Cats.
Did you see it?
Yes.
I think I saw your tweet.
Wait, can we get Jen on to talk about it?
We probably should. If she were home, I would definitely have her on to talk about it.
That was the tweet of the weekend, by the way. Maybe even of the year.
Yeah, no, we were on our way home, and she just looked at me and she said, "We live way too sober a lifestyle to appreciate that movie."
It's so funny.
So
was it really bad? Everyone's saying it's
horrible.
So bad.
No, it's so bad. It's so very, very bad.
I wanted it to be good.
Now, what's your experience with the original musical?
Well, I just like music.
Right.
And I like cats, and I like dancing.
There's only one person in my universe that I thought might get something out of this, and it's you, Dave.
Really?
No, honestly.
It's me.
Because
I'm the answer.
Because it is,
fantastical?
Yes, it's fantastical. There's very weird, stuff going on. Have you seen the trailer even?
Yeah, when they lick their crotch. Super weird.
Yes. That was the part specifically I thought Danae would love. No, but there's something about it that's just so off-putting, so weird, so strange. But you are
What do you mean about off-putting? You mean like the visual, like the the CGI?
I mean, several things.
Oh, okay.
I mean, the CGI, which, by the way, wasn't finished. They're
Right.
actually re-releasing. Yeah. Well, there always are going to be hands, but there were hands that were obviously in costume jackets,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
as opposed to blended in, which they are other times.
I was reading about that. I'm like, whoa, guys.
So they're re-releasing it with updated digital effects.
Somebody getting fired.
So nobody's getting fired. Tom Hooper was literally editing this the day it came out. Like, you know, like
why are they rushing it?
Because they thought they would be in award season and they had to get it out by the end of the year.
No.
And they were delusional. So anyways, that's off-putting. The effect of human cats has always been off-putting. It was off-putting on Broadway, right? Like it's
but at least there, it's like you can tell it's people as cats.
Well, on Broadway, you have to do it that way. If you're going to have human actors, you can't digitally change them on Broadway.
But look at like Lion King on Broadway.
Right.
That's insanely beautiful.
Right.
Like those characters are mind-blowing.
But can you imagine those characters then doing that Lion King as a movie?
Yeah.
Like how different that would, how weird that would be and different that would be.
I don't know. I have to see this too.
So anyways.
If it's storyline, if it's music, if all that stuff falls apart.
Well, and that's the thing. That stuff has never made sense. The Cats musical does not make sense. There's
Yes, it does. There's one magical day a year where all of the cats get together and they battle or whatever. And,
what is a jellicle cat? Can somebody just tell me?
Jellicle, songs for jellicle cats.
Okay, I was right. I was 100% right. There is one person in my life who might actually enjoy this.
Jellicle, songs for jellicle
I don't remember anything about it. I saw the play in high school at our local, like at a TPAC, Tennessee Performing Arts Center, and I don't remember a single thing about it other than there's a song called Memory. Yes,
that is the only good thing about this musical is that is a beautiful song, and I kind of like the Mr. Mistopheles song. I like the Never Has There Ever Been Ever a Cat as Magical as the Mystical Mr. Mistopheles or whatever. I like the alliteration in it. I for one actually don't mind Andrew Lloyd Webber stuff. I like Phantom of the Opera. I enjoy Evita. I can dig Joseph. He did Joseph of the Technicolor Dreamcoat, didn't he?
I don't remember.
Anyways,
sounds right.
I have enjoyed his stuff. I do not get Cats at all to begin with, so I'm already in the hole. My wife and I just kept looking at each other, just like, what is going on? Why are we here? The biggest sin is it's just boring. It's just not like to have something that weird also be boring is almost impossible, but they pull it off.
Yeah, I think the whole premise, and I'm not a cats expert, is that all the cats gathered together and they just like
it's
perform
a talent show.
And they have a talent show.
It's a cat talent show to ascend to heaven.
To see who can get another life.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the extra cat life.
Yeah, which apparently means getting in a hot air balloon and ascending above the chapel.
Or if you're on the live stage, there's like a thing that opens up out of the ceiling and then like light comes out.
And the tones are just all weird and different. I actually liked some of the stuff James Corden was doing. I like how he played with the tone, the way he played at it. But everybody else is taking it very seriously. And, I don't know. It's just, it's as crazy and weird and horrible as everybody says it is. And Danae might like it.
Weber did do Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. So. And he also did Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yes, he did.
And he did the recent School of Rock. I didn't know that.
I did not know that either. So there you go. There are my thoughts on Cats. And that's going to wrap it up for Behind the Sins this week. Thank you.
What do you recommend it? Or
to Danae.
Yes, I highly recommend the Two Popes when we're talking about cats.
That's funny.
That's going to do it for Behind the Sins this week. Don't forget to make sure you are subscribed. Go ahead and leave a comment or rating as well. And you can hang out with us on Twitter at CinemaSins BTS is the main Twitter, but our individual Twitters, we'd love to hear you there as well. I'm at Aaron Dicer. She is at Danae Says.
DENEESAYS.
And he is at Sam Loomis 13. So for Jonathan Watkins, Danae Hughes, and myself, we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening. Send any feedback to behindthesinspod@gmail.com. And be sure to subscribe or message us at Twitter. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
But sometimes people do the thing with the other thing, and it's fine. It doesn't even matter because there's stuff that happens and it's great. I'm talking and you're moving things and stuff is happening, and then I don't know what I'm gonna do. Oh, they're smooching. Oh, they're smooching. You is such love. There's a makeout session happening on the floor. It was fine. Everything was fine. Everything is fine. Everything is great. Everything is fine. Everything is great. Everything is fine. Everything is great. Everything is fine. What? Does this sound so good, Aaron?
No.
Is this your favorite sound you've ever heard? Okay, well, let's do a show, yo.
You feel like you sound a little better?
I do feel like I sound a little better.
Yeah, I changed it.
I'm sorry.
A little bit of the gate.
You poor guy.
But what's nice is I'm starting to understand it a little bit. I'm starting to understand our processors. There's so many knobs and they turn so many directions. Well, each of them turn two directions.
It's left or right, but you know. Hi, Jonathan.
Excuse me. Did not mean to yawn that loud.
Are we already ready for a nap already?
I think I got up about 6:30, which I didn't have to today because, daughter's out of school. My wife's out of work for the holidays. I mean, she's not out of work. She's off work.
I knew what you meant.
Christmas Eve, it's like ever since Mackenzie's been born, it just kind of worked out to where Christmas Eve is just the three of us. So we usually just have a nice dinner, watch a movie or something.
Tomorrow for me, I am spending the first half of the day cooking and baking.
Yeah.
The second half of the day is the first of two major family events.
Because that's a lot. And you have like two big events, 2 days in a row.
Yeah.
So you're baking and then you have two big events on Christmas Eve day?
Christmas Eve and then directly the next day it starts. So
this is the issue when you don't move away. Right? Like this.
Well, this year we have family coming into town.
All my family's here, and we're fine. Do you have people at your house or?
No, thank God, no. Now listen.
Oh well, I would argue that that's awesome.
Well, we have had people out to our house before, and I actually enjoy it because it incentivizes us to clean. But right now, our house is like bachelor insanity. It's the most.
You guys are married though, right? Like
it's the most insane, gross house that it's ever been.
You're a married couple
nuts.
living as bachelors and bachelorettes?
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, it's bad. It's real bad. She got to see Santa over the weekend. The first couple years, she just didn't know anything but just to sit on this person's lap and look at him, This year, she's like, that's a stranger, and I don't know how I feel about this. And also, she's very punchy. So I gave it a 50-50 shot she would like take a swing at Santa.
Yeah, I was going to say, just to be clear, when you say punchy, you don't mean like energetic.
Nope.
You mean she punches people.
Yep. But I told Justin after this trip, I'm like, we're not doing it this way next year. We're going to do something different. We will go, but we're not doing it this way.
Too. Like if you went like a week earlier, it might have been a lot different.
Oh, yes. And see, for him, he's like, no, we're going to go see Santa right before Christmas because that's cool. And I'm like, it's also insane.
And listen, that's when Santa's the most stressed, right before Christmas. He's got a lot on his mind.
He's been peed on so many times at that point. But the cool thing was that was, one thing we did. We also drove around and saw some cool light displays. They have like the Santa Safari where you can pay for like a VIP experience. We're going to do this next year. We didn't do it this year.
Yeah.
Where you can like meet reindeer and feed them. So
when you said Santa Safari, I imagined a whole bunch of Santas galloping across the plains and
yes,
and a few Santa lions, prowling around.
That's really disturbing imagery.
They've already got the big manes, just bleach out their manes white, put a little Santa hat on them.
So scary.
Their bellies will wiggle around like a bowl full of emu. I don't know what do lions
blubber.
Eat? Yeah.
We also went to our condo had an indoor pool, like a heated indoor pool kind of a thing. So we went swimming, or I should say Justin and Iris went swimming and I watched. And I took a 7-minute video of the lifeguard, what I thought was taking a nap, but turns out she was scrolling her smartphone.
Oh.
So I successfully avoided a very angry confrontation. I want some brownie points for that because I about straight marched over there and gave her the what for. But instead I did the passive aggressive, I'll talk to your manager situation. So.
Oh, sure. When you videotape the lifeguard for 5 minutes, you don't get in trouble. For us, Christmas week is full of traditions. My kids are older, and so we have had many years to develop these traditions, and they kind of pile on top of each other. So our Christmas Eve day is packed. And now with kids who work, like full-time work schedules, it becomes a bit crazy. But we did manage, I think, to find a spot on, New Year's Eve day where we can go do our hibachi grill tradition.
I'm going to come just join you on New Year's then. I want hibachi.
Well, you'll miss it because it's actually Christmas Eve. I misspoke.
Okay, I'm going to come tomorrow. I'll see you about 10 a.m.
Yep. You can do it. You can make it.
You know what, Jonathan? Feel free. We'll get you in. It's a great meal.
Hey, but here in the end too, we're on YouTube. Our podcast is now on YouTube.
Yeah.
On the Sincast channel, and we are starting to get comments on our shows.
Oh, another place to check. Yeah.
Another place for us to go if we want to find comments. So, like Ryan K a couple of days ago commented on episode number 10, said, "Can always count on you guys for a laugh and to make my day. Also, the college girlfriend jokes are some of my favorites too." So just some kind of fun stuff is happening there.
Is Made In doing the artwork and whatnot?
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep. I've been working in the back end with that, getting everything approved.
Working in the back end is what my college girlfriend said.
Oh, Lord. Walked right into that one. You ready to talk about the You've Got Mail?
All right, let's move on to You've
What
Got
was that?
What?
Danae's voice. Is that Danish?
Oh, I don't know. I just make up stuff.
Close. It's Danaeish.
Oh, there you go. It's Danaeish.
It's also really sexual. It's just the way they play.
That's what I've heard.
Really?
Yeah, it's uncomfortable. I feel like they're somebody's a furry. Somebody is into this.